Hi. So today on this show, I have the pleasure of hosting another champion, a CA, a gold medalist from ISB, a VC who is now in the plans of transitioning out of the VC world to launch something in the world of education with Skills On. So welcome to the show, Siddhant. And it's been an absolute pleasure hosting you. I mean, I sometimes feel overwhelmed when I meet young achievers like you on this podcast who've achieved so much in 5, 6 years, maybe something which we've not achieved in 20 years of our life. So we want to understand what is the secret sauce for this kind of a success story. So just tell me, just to quickly initiate this conversation, your formative years, YCA, उसमें क्या ups and downs हुआ, then with the brief of WorkX, then you went to ISB. So that academic part of your life, you can quickly touch upon.
Sure, sure. Firstly, thanks for having me, Anurag. I think you've been very kind with your words, but it's always a pleasure to be coming on a podcast, with you, and you've done a lot of stuff as well. No, great. So I think it's been, as you said, rich 5, 6 years of exploration for me. Explored academics and then several careers, basically because I wanted to understand what each field lies and then take a call as to where I want to go. So I'll get back to back in 10th when there was a very basic decision of taking a science versus commerce back in just like every other Indian household. And I come from a family of chartered accountants. So for me, taking up commerce and then ultimately pursuing chartered accountancy was more like a natural choice. And I was very fond of numbers as a kid. So I loved maths, I loved accounts, I loved finance as a whole, like a field as a whole, which very naturally gravitated me towards that field, and chartered accountancy happened. It was only post that when I was actually wondering what I should do, right? Because I wasn't very keen on taking up audit or tax as a field. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something which is not very conventional for any chartered accountant to take up, which is when I started exploring careers. I got into financial modeling at Deloitte. Then the best thing you should do when you are not very sure about your career is an MBA, because that allows you to explore without guilt. So I went to the Indian School of Business, was fortunate to graduate with a gold medal there in 21. Got into management consulting again, just like any other B school grad, but it was a very rich exposure for me. About 10 months gave me exposure to various fields. And that's when an investing opportunity came my way, which was at Sixth Sense Ventures, which is one of India's leading consumer funds. So I was fortunate to get a role as a vice president there. And since then, it's been a world of exploration, speaking to new founders, interacting with new ideas day in, day out. It's been a different life altogether. So that's been about me, a journey of exploration and experimentation. But I would say it's been a fantastic journey for me.
So one quick question is that ISB gold medal, 10 grams of pure gold. So that would have
Well, I
recovered
hope
a
so.
part, that would have recovered a part of your whole investment only. Because the way the gold
Well,
prices have zoomed up in the recent past. So it's now worth 70,000 rupees. Of course, you're not going to sell it for sure. Yeah.
right. Yeah, no, well, I think it is, but I hope so. I hope it's more than 10 grams, though. I haven't got it weighed.
Okay. Okay. Coming back to our flow of thoughts. So a lot of people now aspire to get into VCs. Okay. And VC is serious thing. So from the naysayer who would have said, oh, these VCs and startups are just a fad. They're going to pass off with time. In 2015, 16 and 2024, as we stand now, they are an integral part of the Indian economy. There are more than 1 lakh startups recognized by DPIIT. There are a host of VCs willing to invest in the right opportunities. The problem is VCs have very limited team sizes. So how does one get into a VC? One very quick question there. And then once you get in there, how do you thrive, survive? That's the second
Sure.
question.
So, great. I think you made a very important point, Anurag. The perception about VC as a whole has changed in India, from being something very jazzy and fancy to being an integral part of India today. I think it's all about the discipline that has cropped in into VC investments. Today, people are uh, more than enough focused on investing money in the right places and looking at the right levers. It was all about growing revenue. Now there's been an imminent focus on profitability, which has really got the discipline back in venture capital investing. So that definitely leaves it an integral part. Listed, unlisted, all big companies are looking at VC funding as a serious source of finance right now, right? So that's on one part. In terms of getting in VC, sure. So, traditionally VC firms across the world, not only in India, have been very low in terms of team numbers. You'll see a team of about 10, 12 people. Even at Six Sense, we had about 10, 12 people managing about $500 million of assets under management. So you don't typically need a very large team to run a very big fund. So which leaves with only two possible options for VC hiring. One is a replacement hire. Someone leaves a VC firm. That is when you get someone in place of that person. Second is when you're raising newer funds. So for example, Six Sense will be raising another fund right now. So possibly we'll be hiring another maybe one or two resources more to be catering to that larger size of funds. When the 10, 12 people are not basically enough to manage maybe $1 billion fund. So those are the two types of hiring that typically happen. In terms of how does one get there, I think education pedigree is very, very important. And by education, it doesn't necessarily mean only an MBA. Any professional education is helpful. A chartered accountancy, you're an actuarial, a lawyer. They appreciate diversity in today's times. So education is very, very important. Secondly, it's good to have some bit of work experience before getting into VC. Right? That work experience could be consulting, could be managerial, could be functional, but all VCs typically prefer people who got at least some bit of work experience before getting in. So a combination of education plus work pedigree makes you a good candidate for a VC role. Again, having said that, it's very choosy. So each VC to its own per se. That's in terms of getting in. The third question that you asked me was about how do you thrive, how do you survive in the VC ecosystem? Again, fun to fun. I was fortunate to be a part of a very good culture at Six Sense, where we were like a family. It didn't really seem like a drag in terms of your time. Every decision we made in terms of understanding, keeping also the emotional part of things, rather than just we weren't very hard investors, but we were assertive investors in that sense, right? So it was easy to interact with founders. It's important to maintain relationships. If you're asking me about the work-life balance, well, that depends from fund to fund, right? In certain funds, I mean, it could mean that, a day would be like maybe 12, 15, 16 hours, but in certain funds, a day could also be 8 to 10 hours. But that really depends on your investment philosophy, depends on the culture at the firm per se. So each fund to its own again. But largely the culture at a VC firm, I would say, is very rich. If you're in your early years of career, it's definitely a career for you. If you are, let's say, maybe in the mid to later phases of your career, then probably you might have to take a call in terms of how much time you want to commit to your professional career.
Let's spend some time, maybe 3, 4 minutes to understand your latest initiatives, skills on in terms of being a VC school and what really do you have on offer? Are you going to pursue it full time or is it a side gig? What is the kind of seriousness that brings on the table in terms of internships or companies wanting to hire from this kind of programs? Why I'm asking things from such a detailed perspective is because a lot of people promise the moon when it comes to promising कि अच्छा भाई हमसे financial modeling सीख लो and आप लोग VC ready बन जाओगे and all. But how serious is this? How different is this? That is one thing which I would like to understand. And
Sure.
is
No,
it
thanks, Anurag.
affordable or how long? So
Right.
just tell us about that.
Perfect, perfect. So, this Skill Zone is an initiative that stems from my passion and my passion to teach per se, right? When I was even studying as a student, I taught my sister the entire course of chartered accountancy. When I was working right now, I was a visiting faculty at NM College as well. So teaching has been my passion, and that's what makes me, drive this venture Skill Zone. Coming to the whole thesis behind this, I've noticed that, as you correctly mentioned, that there are a lot of educational players today, some doing well, obviously, but a lot of them promising a lot of stuff, which, that you do this course and you will land up here, you will land your dream job. A lot of different aspects are being promised, are being preached. But I feel that there has been a good white space as far as venture education is concerned. While I was as the vice president, I was working at Six Sense, and I received almost hundreds of queries every day asking me about, what BC is, what do you guys really do? Is it as fancy as people project it to be? A lot of questions that made me realize that, okay, there is a gap there, right? A lot of, you might have a lot of financial modeling courses, but today, even today, I can assure you that there is no one good VC course which is available in the market, which tells you exactly practically how things actually happen in the VC space end to end. starting from the basics to actually taking you through the day-to-day life of a VC fund, right? And that's what made me condense my 2 years of VC experience into these 7 modules that I will now be starting from June end. And obviously then culminating into an internship, which would be either under me or some leading investor. And that internship, as I've promised, would give again another 2 months of real practical experience in terms of how we look at companies, evaluate companies, the challenges and practicalities that we face in the day-to-day VC world. So all said and done, I've been as I said, a teacher by passion, a teacher by heart. So this is something which obviously this is more like my passion project. Full time, I intend to start my own financial advisory practice, but at the side, I definitely want to keep this running, a passion. So given that this is not my full time venture and a passion venture, whatever I promise is something which I might take a few less students, but whatever I promise to those few less students, I will definitely give, and that's the whole aim behind having this. And the affordability part, right? I don't want to keep it as a 40,000 a course or a 50,000 a course, because I believe that an average Indian, right, people like you and me are born and brought up in metro cities, so we might really assume that 40,000-50,000 a course could be an affordable option. But if you really want to venture out into a pan-India basis, you realize that for an average Indian, it's important to keep the pricing very affordable. So, which is why I've kept my modules priced not more than 700 for the highest module, and maybe not more than 100 rupees for a very basic module. So, all in all, the course cost should come to not more than 2.5K, right, for those 7 modules per se. So
That's
that's how
fantastic.
yes, that's the whole thesis around Skillzone per se. And idea is to basically add more such courses going down the line, venture capital, and then find similar white spaces, and basically where I can leverage my experience, leverage experience of people like you, who could obviously would love to have you, do something on that platform as well. Be really, honor for me, be an honor for me as
So
well. So that's the
will
idea.
it be live or recorded? I mean, what is going to be the blend?
Right. So I've started with live now. Idea would be to start with live modules. Slowly, steadily, I do feel that if it gains enough traction where people are appreciating even the recorded sessions, so I would probably be starting that as well. But I do feel that there is a greater sense of personalization when you do a live class. So
Hmm.
idea would be to have a live class all throughout. But if someone maybe down the line says that I want to watch it at my own free will, live class has to happen at that time. But if someone says I want to watch it in the middle of the night and
Hmm.
I need recorded pictures, so possibly I can start that as well. But as of now, immediate plans are to have it live.
Your 30 seconds of advice to Siddhant 10 years ago.
Yes, I would say be fearless in terms of approaching your life and career. There is a big propensity to follow what your friends are doing early on in your career. While that is natural, but I would say carve your own path and be practical about things. When I say carve your own path and you dream that okay, I want to be the next Virat Kohli, maybe that is not practical now, right? Because there would be 1 in 1 lakh people who would be a Virat Kohli. So think about it more practically, but think fearlessly, right? Think about what you can create for your own self rather than just following the footsteps of someone else, maybe your friends. That is number one. Number two is focus on education. Very, very important. Getting a basic degree is very important because then that gives you the power to experiment and leverage. And that is what chartered accountancy has done for me, right? Because MBA was more like a bonus degree for me, but chartered accountancy was the base degree. So focus on education and the propensity to experiment are my two advices for the 10-year-old Agho Siddhant.
Thank you so much, Siddhant, for your kind words. Pleasure hosting you on this channel. It's been
Great.
quite a
Thank you.
quick learning for us.